So we're on Thursday, the 22nd, is it? I'm getting a bit confused because Christmas Day is on a Sunday, at least in the West, or at least in the Western church calendar. Just acknowledging that for other traditions, it's not this weekend, but because it's on a Saturday and Sunday, it's kind of thrown me out on the week. Christmas Eve being the Saturday. So I hope your week's going if you're celebrating. Not everybody is, of course. And actually, my question, whether we didn't get. I mean, if you're Christian, we didn't get the time right, did we? I mean, this was Constantine, which will come to light in a minute. Anyway, light being the operative word. So last night, I was invited to be part of a solstice gathering, it being the shortest day, and this was hosted by a friend in Canada, who I know through interfaith work, and she gathers her friends and family and extends it to other people. So there was a number of us who have never met other than on Zoom. So this was my contribution. I'm not sure what was Jane's prompt to meet on these days. Still, I can see they are the perfect days for people to meet, as they're universal in that we all experience them. However, if I have understood correctly, half the world would be experiencing summer solstice while we experience winter solstice. I'll just stop a bit there and say what I'm talking about is these are not religious days, although in some ways people may have made them religious. These are simply days where the planet or the solar system is making its changes. And it seems to me that these are ideal days because nobody owns these days. They're not Jewish, they're not Muslim, they're not Zoroastrianism, they're not whoever. They are part of our world. So to me, they act as a great unifying event or day. To continue. The fact that people have been observing the solstices for a time also tells us the history of us people attaching festivals to them. So we, in some ways, religionize them, if there's such a word. Make them religious. But they're not religious of themselves. And we see this with the Romans, who believed initially it was the birthday of the sun god, at least according to Wikipedia, to Constantine, that famous emperor who became a Christian in the 3rd century, who Christianized a lot of Roman practices, such as changing the Christian day of worship from a Saturday, the Shabbat, to Sunday, Sunday being the key. And eventually the birth of Christ was around the 25th of December, 3-4 days later, to solstice. Not a coincidence. So people have been given solstices significance and built beliefs around it. But what if we stand back from those beliefs and just tell of our experience? Again, possibly a unifying task. So this is my experience. I only became aware of a particular impact of the darker nights when I moved away from my home. That was at 19 to study in Galway in the west of Ireland. It wasn't that the sun was different, but I noted people's behaviours were. Of course, it wasn't that people's behaviour was different. It was simply I became aware of it like I hadn't when I lived in a familiar pattern. Okay, so what am I talking about? I moved in late September, and already the nights were drawing in, as we would say. I moved into a shared house, and although in a shared house, I felt isolated in the neighbourhood, that I didn't connect, and that we didn't connect with the community living around us. That was until spring came, and the lighter nights. What happened? I guess it's obvious. People were outside. Children were playing, adults supervising, walking, washing their cars and the like, and I was too. which meant we got to see our neighbours and they got to see us. So it wasn't that I was isolated, it was that we were in the season of shorter days. I hadn't understood that the sun was sharing its light with the other side of the world, which meant for half the year we would have shorter days and for the other longer. That experience in Galway 33 years ago is a metaphor for darkness, in that just because I can see and be seen does not mean nothing is going on. I am there, as are my neighbours, and we're doing what we do when the nights are long. We're sitting, well, maybe not everybody's doing this, but I say, I'm sitting drinking tea, reading books and listening to the radio. As the day lengthens, we come out of our caves and we see each other. Now, when you grow up in a culture, you unconsciously, at least I did, slip from one season to the next with everyone else, without perhaps paying it much attention. For me, it was only when I moved outside the familiar that I saw what I'd never consciously seen. You could say that the darkness made me see something I'd never noticed. As people, we all experience this, and due to that, we can come, as we have done, and gather in that experience. I'm referring to the gathering last night. Tonight we come together to acknowledge our season of dark nights, but also to know, from this point on, the season of lights has begun. Yay! I'm a bit crazy, aren't I?